We're going to do something a little different today. I want to veer away from talking about investing. I think it's good to take a break from that and highlight the importance of recharging our internal batteries without draining our wallets, because we're still going to talk about saving money. Now, we are guilty of falling into routines and getting engulfed in watching the stock market every single second it's open. I catch myself doing it. I keep opening the apps and looking at what the stock prices are. Really, there's minimal change. It's good to just maybe look once a day, if anything. But that is how we forget to live life and experience the world around us, and we need to do that. Of course, this being an investing channel, I want to share some inexpensive day/weekend trips. The Getaways will be here in New Mexico that I will talk about because this is my home state. But you can easily apply this to wherever you live, and you'd be surprised just at the gems you can find. Now, obviously, these day weekend trips are more affordable than, say, a cross-country or international trip, and they're much easier to plan for and execute as well. So for a day trip, I would say grab a map, locate where you are, and try to think of a place that's about 2 hours away. Then draw a circumference around you, and now you have the area to research to find some places you can go explore. Now for a weekend trip, which I think is a night stay somewhere, that you can go out 4 hours. So that's my method for finding places. So I'm gonna cover my top 5 weekend/day trips, the getaway trips here in New Mexico. And I just wanna say, during the pandemic, there was a lot of hardships, but there were some positive things that came out of it, and it presented an opportunity that I took advantage of because everything was closed down around us. Me and my friends and family were bored, so I decided I'm going to make it a point to do day and weekend trips as often as I can, and I got to see some cool things here in New Mexico, and we're called the Land of Enchantment due to our diverse and beautiful landscape, from the sparkling deserts to the tall mountains covered in trees. Yes, they are the Rocky Mountains. They do come down into New Mexico. They don't stop in Colorado, but it's a place you can experience just about it all. And we get all 4 seasons here too. It's pretty cool. So let's jump into this list, and we're going to talk about trip number 1 in New Mexico. It's a weekend trip, and that is to the Carlsbad Caverns National Park and White Sands National Park. These are often seen together, so they're both doable in a weekend and are located in the southeastern part of the state. Now, Carlsbad Caverns is one of the longest caves in the world and one of the deepest in the US, about 750 feet deep, or equivalent to a 75-story building. It's a 1.25 mile steep walk and is one where you will feel like you are in another world. It is so cool. I have not been there since I was a kid, so I'm overdue for another visit, and I'm going to do it within the next year. That's my promise to myself. Now, White Sands is nearby, so it's one, again, you do these paired up together all in one trip, and it's one of the world's great natural wonders. The great wave-like dunes of gypsum sand have engulfed 275 square miles of desert, creating the world's largest gypsum dune field. Makes me think of the movie Dune, where they collected spice. Again, I have not been there since I was a kid, so I need to visit again, but this is my number 1 spot that I think if you're here in New Mexico, definitely check it out. Now, the number 2 trip in New Mexico is another weekend trip, and that is the Catwalk Recreation Area, located in the southwestern part of the state. I was here about 5 years ago, and here are some pictures from it. You walk on a suspended bridge along the canyon over a river. It is really beautiful and cool. It is only a half-mile long bridge, so very doable for most people. I'd say this is one of the lesser-known hidden gems in our state and of high recommendation. There are some bed and breakfast nearby to stay at, and it makes for the perfect weekend getaway. Definitely must do. Now, trip number 3 in New Mexico is a day trip in the central part of the state, and it is the Bosque del Apache National Wildlife Refuge. I've been here a few times, and recently, just about a month ago, it's a very special place. This is a wetland in the desert and attracts a lot of wildlife, awesome wildlife, from birds, bobcats, mountain lions, deer, cranes, geese, turkeys, turtles, and the list goes on and on. You will see here the deer we saw last time we went out. They were just taking some shade under the trees, and then we saw the most beautiful bird that literally took my breath away. I'm not joking. This bird was sitting on the little fence here of this bridge over the little pond. And when it opened up its wings to fly away, you went from seeing the darkest black possible to the brightest red possible underneath its wings. It was just quite the sight to see. So this place has a south loop and a north loop that you could definitely just drive on if you want, but there's a lot of hiking opportunities, so you could spend as little as a few hours here to all day long. It's really up to you. So this is one you will want to visit at least once for each season of the year, because every different season brings different wildlife. So this is one that I highly recommend. It's a special place. Trip number 4 in New Mexico is a day trip in the western central part of the state, and that is the Ice Cave and Bandera volcano. I went here a few years ago and was pleasantly surprised at how cool this place was. Walking around some of the volcanic landscape made it feel like you were on a different planet. Again, another place in New Mexico you feel like you're on a different planet. Now you do a 1-mile walk. Along the way you will see an inactive volcano, and it's very steep. You can see in this picture here, this is me. It's very steep decline to the bottom. So cool to see. What a perspective. Then you wrap around, and towards the end of the hike you see the ice cave, and it's such a cool phenomenon. No matter if it's the 100-degree day or a negative 32-degree day in the winter, this stays solid ice year-round, and it's due to the curvature of the cave and the way the air circulates. It keeps it below freezing. It's super cool. So this is a special place you must also visit if you live in New Mexico, and it's definitely a day trip that's worth it. Now, trip number 5, the last one I'm going to mention in New Mexico, is a weekend trip in the central northern part of the state. This is where the Rocky Mountains come down into our state, and the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge and Tass area is what I recommend to go see. The Rio Grande Gorge Bridge is the second highest bridge on the U.S. highway system and the 5th highest bridge in the U.S. at 650 feet above the river, the Rio Grande River. Not for the faint of heart, so if you're scared of heights, it's one you might want to see from the distance, but it's definitely worth seeing. Now nearby is the small town of Taos, known for its art and backdrop of the nearby mountains, as well as the historic Taos Pueblo. I've stayed in this town before. It is super cool to kind of explore and see the history of it. It's got rich history. You can also go rafting in the Rio Grande River, as seen here. Yes, that is me. I took my niece and nephew, and there's some other people on this rafting trip. It was an amazing, fun experience I will never forget, and this was my second time going. I've been once before with some good friends of mine. So this one I highly recommend doing. And again, there are so many places in New Mexico to see, but these are just my top picks, my first 5. If you want to see another video of another 5, just let me know. I can keep this going for quite a while, actually. And I would love it if you would share some places to visit near you that are special gems, because it gives us ideas. When we watch this, then when we travel places, we might note it in our head and be like, hey, I really want to see that. So again, this is a good way to see amazing places without the high expense of a cross-country or international trip. In fact, you could fit in many of these trips throughout the year for relatively low cost while creating great memories you will keep forever. So I hope this inspires you to step away from the hustle and bustle of the world. We invest to make money so we can have freedom in life and experience it. Don't let that time pass you by thinking you can do it all after retirement. Make it an ever-going thing to get out and see something new every single year of your life. It's possible to invest and live life at the same time. So I'm excited to hear about your hidden gems. That's all for today on Mark on Notes Finance. We'll see you soon, and let me know if you have any questions on this video. I'd be happy to talk about it. Thank you.